The twin suns of Kepler 442b cast long shadows across the crystalline plains as James wiped grease from his hands with a worn cloth. His small repair shop, nothing more than a converted cargo container, sat at the edge of New Geneva colony like a metal tumor against the alien landscape. Most days he fixed atmospheric processors and water recyclers for the other colonists. Today, however, his hands shook as he stared at the message on his comm unit. Elsa's transport shot down over Dragon Valley. No survivors expected. Search suspended. The words blurred through his tears. Elsa, the xenobiologist who had laughed at his terrible jokes and shared his dreams of exploring the untamed wilderness beyond the colony walls. The woman who had kissed him goodbye just 3 days ago before departing on what should have been a routine survey mission. James grabbed his toolkit and the emergency beacon from his shop, then climbed into his battered hoverbike. The colony administrators had given up, but he wouldn't. Even if it meant venturing into the territory the colonists called Dragon Valley, a place where massive intelligent creatures had made it clear that humans were unwelcome. The landscape changed dramatically as he flew deeper into the wilderness. The safe terraformed areas around New Geneva gave way to towering spires of native crystal formations and forests of metallic trees that chimed in harmonious frequencies when the wind passed through them. It was beautiful and terrifying, a reminder that this world would never truly be home to humanity. After 2 hours of searching, James spotted the wreckage. The transport lay crumpled against the base of a crystal spire, its hull torn open like a flower. His heart pounded as he landed, nearby emergency medical kit in hand. But as he approached the crash site, massive shadows passed overhead. The dragons had found him. They descended with surprising grace for creatures so enormous, each one easily the size of an old Earth jumbo jet, with scales that shifted color like oil on water, and wings that seemed to be made of living metal mesh. Their eyes, James noticed, with growing terror, held an intelligence that was unmistakably aware. 5 of the magnificent beasts landed in a semicircle around him, cutting off any hope of escape. James had heard the stories. Dragons who had driven off mining expeditions with coordinated attacks, who seemed to communicate through subsonic frequencies that human ears couldn't detect, who appeared to view human colonization as a threat to be eliminated. But as James stood frozen waiting for the end, he realized something strange. The dragons weren't moving to attack. They were waiting, watching him with those brilliant, multifaceted eyes. And then he heard it. A weak voice calling from inside the wreckage. "James, is that really you?" Elsa was alive. Without thinking, James sprinted toward the wreckage, ignoring the massive creatures around him. He found Elsa trapped beneath a twisted piece of bulkhead, her leg clearly broken but her eyes bright with relief and disbelief. "How did you find me?" she whispered as he worked to free her. "I couldn't just let you go," he replied, his voice thick with emotion. "I won't lose you to this place." As he carefully extracted her from the wreckage, Elsa pointed weakly toward the dragons. "James, they've been protecting the crash site. I think they've been keeping the scavengers away, waiting for someone to come." James looked up at the circle of massive creatures, finally understanding. They hadn't been threatening him, they had been guarding her. But why? With Elsa safely in his arms, James felt overwhelmed by the enormity of the moment. Here he was, a simple mechanic from Earth, holding the woman he loved on an alien world, surrounded by creatures that could have killed him with a casual swipe of their claws. The beauty and strangeness and impossibility of it all crashed over him like a wave. And so, without fully understanding why, James began to sing. It wasn't a particularly good song, just an old Earth ballad his grandmother had taught him, about sailors lost at sea finding their way home by the stars. His voice, cracked with emotion and exhaustion, but he sang anyway, pouring all his relief and love and desperate hope into the simple melody. The effect on the dragons was immediate and profound. The great creatures began to hum, a deep subsonic harmony that James felt in his bones rather than heard with his ears. Their scales shifted to warmer hues, and they moved closer, not in threat, but in what could only be described as appreciation. One of them, larger than the others with scales that gleamed like copper, lowered its massive head until it was only meters away from James and Elsa. As James finished the song, the copper dragon extended one wing, creating a shelter over the injured humans. The others arranged themselves in a protective circle, their humming continuing in complex harmonies that seemed to resonate with the crystal formations around them. "They're musicians," Elsa breathed in wonder, her scientific mind still working, despite her injuries. "Look at their throat structures, the way they're responding to your voice. James, I think they see music as a form of communication, maybe even as a sign of sentience." Over the next several hours, as James tended to Elsa's injuries and waited for the rescue beacon to bring help, the dragons maintained their vigil. They brought water, collected in hollow crystal formations. They kept dangerous native predators at bay with coordinated flights around the perimeter. And when James grew tired and his voice began to fail, they continued their subsonic harmonies, creating a lullaby that seemed to ease both humans' pain and fear. When the colony rescue team finally arrived, they found a scene that would be remembered for generations. A human mechanic and injured xenobiologist sleeping peacefully beneath the protective wing of an ancient dragon, while 4 others stood, guard in the alien twilight, their songs weaving through the metallic forest like prayers. The rescue team leader, a hardened military veteran, later reported that he had never seen anything so beautiful or so fundamentally hopeful in 30 years of interstellar service. From that day forward, relations between the New Geneva colony and the dragons changed forever. What had been seen as territorial hostility was revealed to be something far more complex, a species of natural musicians and storytellers who had been trying to communicate with the human newcomers through song, waiting for someone who would finally sing back. James returned to his repair shop, but now his work took on new meaning. He became the unofficial ambassador between species, teaching colonists simple melodies that the dragons recognized as peaceful communication. And every evening, as the twin suns set over Dragon Valley, he and Elsa would sit outside their home and sing together, 2 human voices joining the ancient chorus of an alien world, proving once again that sometimes the most profound connections are made not through technology or weapons, but through the simple, universal language of music. The stars had brought humanity to this distant world, but it was a mechanic song that finally brought 2 species together in harmony.